talk and you have to put action behind what you do, but it's I think being able to think positively like that and visualize what you want in life is very important. Um, a lot of people don't, they just kind of let shit happen instead of, I don't want to say play it out in my head before, but I like to be prepared when something happens. So I kind of, you know, and that could be bad too. Like you could have expectations too high or, you could be off on the outcome, but it's good to at least challenge yourself to feel how you might feel when you get to that situation. And I know I'm going on a tangent right now, but um, I'm this is this whole thing is just crazy. Yeah, this is a little harder than I imagined. Got a little tickle in my throat. I need some water, so I had to slow it down there and pause for a second. But um, this whole thing is just one big roller coaster ride, and you can fight it or you can try to go through it. And sorry, my mic was a little jacked up, but yeah, so I got good at visualizing stuff and trying to, see what I wanted to happen. And I think that's good. But um, it's interesting because I play stuff up very, very intensely in my head. So I have like huge dreams and huge goals that I want to accomplish, but when I think about telling somebody else about it, it's hard for me to relay what I can see in my head and not sound crazy. But, you know, I think for me, it's good to, explore those areas and try to get that stuff, you know, and I've always done this, but right now in this past month, I've really tried to be proactive in trying to make that stuff happen. You know, this is weird for me. I'm not used to this. This is out of my comfort zone. But I feel so passionately about it. I mean, I'm sitting here talking, it's, and I want to be transparent with this whole thing too. So I'm sitting in my car and I'm all by myself in a cul-de-sac, nice quiet area, and I'm just talking and I'm getting very emotional, very emotional, and my palms are sweaty, and it matters to me. It's weird how nerves are weird because when you get nerves, it's you can think about, oh, that's bad, or oh, I really care about this. Like when you get nervous for a sporting event, you know, I've been so nervous that I didn't think I could possibly like walk around. And it's it's one of those things where you're very like you're passionate about it and you got to, harness that energy. It's like this whole podcast thing, it really matters to me. I want this to be successful. I want to do the right stuff to make this happen for my life. And, that's not the right way to say it, but I want this to happen. I want to do this. This is so interesting. And the doors that it opens up is so intriguing to me. Um, I've been trying to reach out to people and get some interviews and all this stuff. And, having someone message me back and wanting to schedule, I got nervous. I'm like, oh no, are they going to like me? Or not like me, but are they going to, are we going to have a good conversation? Then you think about what you're going to start talking about. And it's just very, um, I actually cared. Like I got real nervous and it was fun to get nervous. I haven't felt like that in a while. Um, I used to ride motorcycles when I was younger, and it was um it was scary going to the track every time. It's you feel that gut turning, you're nervous, you don't know how to feel. It's one of those things that just kind of, you feel off. You feel off, you feel like you could throw up. And I felt that almost every time going to the track. And when I got on my motorcycle after like the first lap, it went away. Like once you start riding, it totally goes away. But that, 20 minutes before you start getting ready and putting your shit on and putting your gear on, and you're a nervous wreck. And I think it's this is all me speculating, in my own head, but I don't have anybody to talk to about it. So I just talk in the microphone. But, I think to put yourself in a situation like that is healthy. To feel nervous, it means you care and you give a shit. It's funny, I could handle the nervous energy and in stuff like when you would have an assignment in school, like you had to talk in front of the class. You could tell when the kids would get nervous, it hurt their performance in their speech or whatever they had to give. But I didn't really have a problem with that. I was nervous, but when you learn how to control your nerves and you can, you're like, okay, everything's going to be okay. So I'm just going to do it. And you kind of get relaxed and you kind of get in the flow. And I think it's healthy to do that. But to bring this back full circle, full circle podcast, try to not go totally tangent and not talk about all the same shit. But I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. I'm not exactly sure who the author is. I'll try to put it in the notes. But Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I think it's it's a Tony Robbins book, the newest one that he wrote, and it's I'll put them in the show notes. I don't know the titles off the top of my head, but book on audio. I listen to it while I'm at the golf course doing my stuff every day, and it's kind of showed me like, okay, there's hope. The big thing is, it's the best way I could think about doing it for myself is you gotta save money first to have enough to invest to make your investments pay off. That makes sense. It's harder to $100 here, $100 there. The Tony Robbins book talks about low cost index funds, but you go look at the S&P 500 low index fund, and you have to have $10,000 to invest in that, that index fund. And it's so it's, I think the way to do it for a younger person, 20s, earlier than that, if you want to save money, you try to save as much as possible, and then kind of, invest, even though there's that possibility that it might be, you might lose the money. But in the Rich Dad Poor Dad book, they talk about how, it's better to invest in stuff when you're younger because you can fall and you can get back up and, make something else happen. But if you never take that chance, you never, have the opportunity to get a big payout. It's one of those, it's hard to imagine that, but I think it comes with, you kind of have to pay your dues when it comes to investing. You're going to lose some money. But that's probably going to be one of the hardest, things now is to, make a retirement for you and your family. Not hard because you can get a lot of jobs but Social Security, how long is that stuff going to last? They say by the time I'm old, there's not going to be any money left. So it's scary to think about, but I've been bouncing a lot of that stuff back and forth in my head, and I'm at that turning point in my life right now. I'm 24, and I want to start my own business, to be honest, and then kind of be a full adult. I mean, I'm lucky my parents are really cool, and I can live at home and not pay rent and try to save money, but that's never been my style. I've had the luxury of being able to do that, but I like being on my own. I like doing my own thing. So I'm really looking at, where I want to move. I want to get out of California. I don't think, at least for a young adult like myself, to try to buy a house and start a family in California is, hard. And I don't want to be in a hole my whole life because I made a bad decision when I was young. So I'm trying to educate myself on real estate in other states and, where is going to be the most affordable with how much I could get paid for my job and, in correlation with the rent and all that stuff. So, you got to try to be prepared and not make irrational decisions and hurt yourself for the future. So a learning process, and I'm not great at it. I'm just trying to, like my previous titles, be better, try to be better, or however you want to put it. But, you can't stay still and expect something to happen. If you're kind of moving forward, everything builds momentum, so it's interesting to see how my last couple months have progressed. I'm like, okay, I want to try to do a podcast. Now I'm like, okay, try to do, more podcasts, trying to push the envelope a little bit. So you kind of, when you get momentum and you feel like you can do something, you should go do it and not question it. And that's what I've been trying to do. And it's very helpful to continue with good momentum. I did have the flu, so I got set back, but I'm trying to fully recover. And it's weird how something like that can derail you a little bit, but it's one of those life things. Shit happens. You got to stand up and keep going. In that Rich Dad Poor Dad book, they talk about how when you're a kid, you learn how to run, all this stuff. You learn how to walk or ride a bike, and you always fall down. Everything's always, you fall down before you can do it. And, and I was the same way growing up. I fucked myself up, bloody elbows, bloody knees, trying to jump too high on my bike and falling on the asphalt. It's when you're a kid, you don't give a fuck. But when you get older, you kind of, you start making very worrisome decisions, and it can be hurtful. So you kind of have to, you have to eat shit before you can, keep going and learn how to do it, which is, I think, one of the biggest parts of life that a lot of people are scared of. You kind of have to suffer before you can get to the top of the mountain. And everybody's top of the mountain is going to be different. Mine's not going to look like yours, and yours won't look like mine. So it's all about what you want to do in life. And especially in the day and age now, you can almost do anything you want and make it, make a profit from it. I read bloggers, and they travel in a van all year round. You could do anything you want, anything. And it's interesting to see how people can get static, especially younger generation. It's easy. They had it easy. And, we didn't grow up hard. 2008 stock crash, that was the biggest thing that's happened since I've probably been alive. And it's one of those things that I didn't really go through like a Great Depression or struggle hard. I know people struggle hard all the time, but I was fortunate, enough not to see anything like that. But I think it's the struggle. You have to embrace the suck, as Nick Bear would say. I like watching his YouTube videos. He's an ex-Army Ranger, and he has some awesome videos on YouTube. But it's that's one of the things that you have to do. You kind of have to embrace the suck, and that's a great saying. But you have to, at least I think I have to, I say you. I'm not a motivational speaker or anything. It's